Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, everybody knows we are at the CD Summit, so this is just a placeholder, so let me continue. So yeah, I would like to welcome you to talk a little bit today about progressive infrastructure delivery using Kargo and Argo CD. So that was something I found very, very interesting. And now comes why I found this very interesting and why I would like to share this with you and give you some input to maybe play around, to try this. Maybe you already use Argo CD or you're planning to use this. So it could be a nice addition to consider at the beginning. Just quickly to myself, and now comes the point why I found this interesting. My name is Engin Diri. Plenty of socials, feel free to choose and to follow if you would like. I'm working at Pulumi as a customer experience architect. So for me, naturally, infrastructure and infrastructure as code is something I'm always around. So that's important. And that's why I always look around to see, is there a way how we can work and deliver infrastructure definitions differently as we do normally now. Cloud transformation enablement, continuous everything, that's all fine. Before I would start, I introduce some of the topics again because I found this very useful. So we will go through some of the foundations of all the things GitOps and then leading all the way up to the real example. So sorry if one or two things you see here you already know, and yeah, I'm sorry for this. Okay, so GitOps. Yeah, everybody loves GitOps. That's the thing. So we now 2024. Everybody should have heard about GitOps. And now comes the thing. We're talking about a specific GitOps. When I talk sometimes with people and say GitOps, they're like, yeah, we save our stuff in our Git repository and so on. I'm like, no, I'm talking the specific GitOps in a Kubernetes context. So now comes the part where I always try to be a little bit more interactive with my audience, but the audience is really like, I don't care what you are asking me and so on. I'm here for the coffee, or I don't want to talk, which is completely fine. But just a question, does anybody of you know the GitOps principles? Feel free. Otherwise, I mean the specific GitOps principles, but okay, it's fine. So GitOps principle number 1, and you can look all them up. There's a GitOps working group around this, and you can participate if you not agree or you want to add anything. It's declarative. It means that system managed by GitOps has this desired state completely expressed declaratively. It has to be versioned and immutable. So that's one thing, and retains complete version history. Another one, it has to be pulled automatically. So pull is the thing here, what's going on. And it has to be continuous reconciled. So this is the definition the persons around the GitOps working group defined here. And this leads now, GitOps principle makes sense. This leads now to the way, okay, how we can deploy infrastructure with GitOps using operators. So we know what GitOps has to be, and now we say, okay, we want to run all the GitOps stuff on Kubernetes, so there comes the handy thing, operators. And again, I would like to give you also here a very, very brief introduction. There are plenty of documentations around this. You go to Red Hat Operator SDK and so on, where you can read all the details. But what are operators and why they are important for us to use GitOps and deploy infrastructure the GitOps way? Here in this context with application, because it was meant for application, everything's a little bit meant for application, is Kubernetes operator automate application management by using the Kubernetes API to control complex and stateful applications, or stateless applications as you want. So this is one thing. Another thing what operators are doing for us is they extend Kubernetes beyond the normal commands you are using to handle day 1, day 2 maintenance tasks, and even day 3. So there is the operator hub where you can see different levels of operators. So the best operator you can have, and there are some examples, they are completely working the whole life cycle. And there are operators which are very rudimentary. They're just doing the setup part and so on. So that's another point. And the last point is that we can extend now the Kubernetes API using so-called custom resources, and then we can create custom resources and let the operator react on this depending on what we created. So creating a backup custom resource and then working on it. And this is how it looks like. So a user modifies a custom resource and the operator detects any. So custom resource definition, and the custom resource is the resource you created out from the definition, just to make this point clear. And then the operator just watches, reconciles on it, and then do the operations on the Kubernetes world. Okay, so that's now GitOps on one part, and we talked about why operators are important to get to the entrance thing. So now we're talking again about deploy infrastructure with GitOps, and there are two tools I like and I choose here to present to you. So one is Crossplane, which are using Kubernetes as the control plane to deploy infrastructure, and another one, and accidentally I'm working for them, so yeah, that's fine, is Pulumi. Again, everything is open source, so I'm not. That's not something you need to pay or something like this. So you can just install the stuff. The Pulumi one, you need the Pulumi Kubernetes operator on top of it. But again, both are running the operator approach, both defining, extending the Kubernetes API with specific custom resource definitions where you can define your VPC and so on and so on. Okay, so now we are all set. We understand GitOps, we understand that we need an operator, we installed the operator, so now we can start. And this is a typical application, so as you can see, the guestbook application. So we defined our manifest, for example. Think about this could be also an infrastructure, so think about not guestbook, but thinking about the underlying Kubernetes cluster of the guestbook. Then we are using Argo CD to roll this out. And then, yeah, everything is deployed, and we see also our application running on it, or the Lambda, or the app Cloud Run, for example. So take whatever infrastructure you would like to deploy. And yeah, that's completely fine. That's crazy. We really love this. And yeah, I hope this is running. We could call it a day. But now comes the point. And this is the typical actually cases. Wait a minute. Actually, what we did now, and we started, we only synced now the dev environment. But we all know, and this is the real talk, and everybody knows from experience, I know this from experience with our customers, there are more environments than development. So we go to QS, we go to prod and all this stuff. And now comes the next point, why we're leading the whole stuff here to the Kargo example is, and how do we promote now these changes from one stage to another, which is a big question. And I love this thing. This thing fits really to everything. So in this context is now, if you talk now to anybody in a company and say, show me your CI/CD pipelines and explain to me how you deploy workload or how you deploy infrastructure definitions, they will come up with everything. So there's nothing you did not see. So I worked before I started at Pulumi, I worked for a very known German company, the people behind Lidl and Kaufland, so the Schwarzgruppe. It was a big corporate. We had every tool. But every time when some salesperson called me, I'm like, I'm sure we have your tool already. So you can imagine everybody has also some way of creating the infrastructure. So here I just picked one random picture where people use a flow to build the artifact, to build the definition, and then deploy it in the cluster. You can see typical getting to a Git repository, cloning it, and then comes one part here, the GitHub action, detecting any changes, and then updating also the infrastructure definitions to then deploy the stuff. And this is even a crazier approach, which is also completely reality. Using different branches, for example, and doing your work on different branches, doing cherry picks and all this stuff to deploy and define your infrastructure, to define your application. And the fun thing is they coined it, Kent Rancourt, I hope I say his family name right, from Acuity, he coined this CI Kung Fu. So that's something you will see, but everything goes crazy. And now comes the question, we're leading a little bit closer now to why Argo and why Kargo and Argo. Is there a better way to promote infrastructure changes the GitOps way? So not creating CI pipelines externally and CI pipelines doing literally everything, calling CLIs and whatever. Is there a more native way, a more GitOps way? So to understand this, we need to talk a little bit about promotion patterns. So promotion patterns describe different ways to implement environments, dev, test, you name it, with GitOps. And yeah, no surprise, the process is referred as promotion. And now comes the central question. How do we realize environments in GitOps? And if I ask these questions now to our audience here, if maybe have a development background, they will be like this. That's very, very easy to answer this. Let's do environment by branches. That's the most thing. And then comes, no, we don't do this. So that's a big no-go. So we have Kostis Kapellonis from CodeFresh, and he wrote 2021, he already wrote an article, Stop Using Branches for Deploying to Different GitOps Environments. Here's the link to this article. It's very, very cool and very thoughtful for that time. You have to think about that was still a little bit different. I give you a summarize why we should not use branches for environment. So using Git for branches is outdated, problematic, and leading to configuration-driven and maintenance challenges. Promoting via Git merges can cause unwanted changes and merge conflicts. And this is something reality when you have different branches and you need to merge them back or cherry pick something and so on and so on. It's a nightmare. So completely agree on this, and probably, oh, that's 2 in 1. That's a little bit too much. Helm and Customize are popular Kubernetes tools advocating us the usage of files and folders over branches for environment modeling. And now comes the last one. Branch per environment models are difficult to scale with many environments. So everything works always fine on the green board, on the whiteboard when you have only 1, 2 environments. You can handle this. But what happens if you completely go crazy with this? And then you will see that is not a sustainable modus. We should not run environments per branch. So there's an issue with the slides. So, okay, we cut this away, and now we already see, yes, environment by folders is the way to go. And there again, now from 2022, and from Christian Hernandez and from Kostis, writing 2 different articles about the best practice of GitOps and how to model your environments and promote them. Again, separate configuration, environment-specific files for clearer management, handle environment promotions with simple file copies, and gradually promoting ensure smooth transition between environments and without causing disruptions. And then, of course, and this is a topic which in my company, when we first encountered this, was a big thing and helped us so much, trying to switch to trunk-based development for tags and versioning. That's something. Okay, so the demo repository I'm going to use is, you can already see, I worked now with the folder approach. So I created now my infrastructure definitions. I created a folder called stages. I went a little bit monorepo for the demo purpose, but don't think about the folder setup or charts. It was just, I wanted to put everything in one place. But the important part are the stages, and then you see the folders. And what I'm using here is I use Helm to define an umbrella chart, and then pointing to my infrastructure definition. We will see this a little bit in detail, but you could also use Customize, for example. And here's a quote from Kostis, which I liked very much, is embrace folders and forget branches. So that's very good. Okay, so far the theory. So everything is clear. Okay, we got it now. We should not use branches, never start with this kind of branches. What are GitOps and the operator? Okay. Let's talk about Kargo. Okay, Kargo, again, open source tool. So what is Kargo and why? And why you should care. Okay, why you should care. That's a little bit wrong. Okay, so Kargo is an application lifestyle orchestration model declarative as pipelines. It's a very clunky definition. It's completely GitOps principle compliant, so everything you will see is completely GitOps. It's declarative. Enables easy promotion and rollback of artifacts, and artifacts are defined here as container images, Kubernetes manifest, and Helm charts. So as you can see, when you do applications, you could use Kargo for your container image because there's a change in your application logic. I'm using it for infrastructure, so I use the Helm charts. You can do manual and automatic promotion of artifacts, which is also very important. So automatic, if you connect some systems and let them decide on Prometheus, for example, that the times and whatever are nice. Manual is something my old company loved because there's always a person who has to give his sign to approve this. And of course, it's a native integration into existing ecosystem, Helm, customize Argo CD. And again, we all know what happens when you're not follow your OSS folks. Here in this case, Kargo is OSS, so you can use it. It's currently not donated to the CNCF. We have to check with Acuity if they're going to donate this. So some of the key concepts, because it's not a tool if it's not introducing some definitions to override some existing ones. So Kargo key concepts, and as you will see in the demo, it's the project. Project is your organizational unit, and you can attach some resources and RBAC and promotion policies to your project. A stage describes your delivery pipeline step. You can name it. And now comes the point, it manages freight request and promotion mechanism. And now we come to the freight represents a versioned artifact. And now comes the fun part, and is attached a freight. A warehouse is a source of a freight. You see the analogy with Kargo and so on. So you define, this is my freight for Helm, for example, but it has to be attached to a warehouse and everything makes sense. Yeah, of course, you send the stuff as cargo out. And promotion, as last point, is a request to move a freight from one stage to another. Okay. So far, some of the definition and everything makes more sense if we see this now in moving pictures. So let's start here. Boing. This is one part. And this is the other part. Okay, so when you install everything, you get an Argo CD. Again, you can deploy it separately. And then you get also this nice Kargo view where you can define your projects. So I defined one, the CD Summit one. Where are you? Okay. And now we can see if we have a look into our CD Summit YAML definition, you see everything is committed into a Git repository. We have the project I mentioned. And here comes the... So, oh, sorry. So we have the project definition, and now comes the first thing. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. So a warehouse, I defined just a warehouse for our infra chart. And what I told him is like, hey, please create your subscription to following repository. This is a classical Helm repository URL, so it will check all the existing versions. And then the name is infra chart. That's one important thing. And now we come to the stage. So I'm defining here my stage. I say, hey, listen, there are different promotion mechanisms. One is the Argo CD app update. There's some fancy stuff going on. I did not feel anything out in the Argo CD update stuff because I say I would like to have everything in GitOps style. So the most important part is the GitOps repo update. You will see the API definitions for Argo CD. If you say, hey, it's fine, I'm going to change something in the application definition of Argo CD. I did not do this. What I did is that, hey, please go to the Helm chart. If you got a new freight for the stage test, then please look up in the umbrella chart. I will show you the umbrella chart. Look up in the umbrella chart the dependency called infra chart with following repository, and then update the version in the background. And then write the branch and all the stuff. And what I say with requested freight, I said this stage is only allowed to receive freight from the warehouse infra chart warehouse. So what does it lead? In my case, it leads to one warehouse, one stage. In this case, but you could have multiple warehouses delivering multiple values. So that's a nice thing. And then I say, yeah, you can update this direct. I will show you quickly how a second stage looked like, which is more dependent. So here again, update, that's all fine, you know, that's the way to go. But here we come to the request. I say again, you only accept freight from the warehouse, but only when the stage before runs successfully. So you cannot deliver anything to the UAT stage if test is not successfully. And same goes now for productive New York. Productive New York is up depending from the UAT, and now comes the fun thing. I can also define two, so prod New York, and now comes prod London. So prod New York City, it's depending, everything depends on New York City. Where's prod Amsterdam, prod London, prod Amsterdam? Yeah, both are depending on New York City. So I created now the whole chain. So here you can see now my chart. This is the base chart where I have all my definitions. I created a Crossplane definition for creating an app deployment, and I created how do you say this, for Pulumi. This is the Pulumi definition, both doing the same. And then I created a values YAML where I say, hey, this is the Git repository you should deploy where the application code is in it. And then you can also toggle on off which IIC mechanism you would like to have. Okay, that's the underlying chart. So now we have a look on the umbrella chart. If we go, for example, for London. So London says, okay, this is the umbrella chart, and this is dependency. As you can see again, infra chart, version, and the repository. I didn't overwrite anything. Let me see in the values. Yeah, in the values, I say also the region from DigitalOcean is London 1, the stage is prod, and here in this case, I would like to not deploy via Pulumi, I would like to deploy via Crossplane. Okay, and this is everything set up here in my stages. As you can see, everything is differently. And as you can see in a test, I already defined a React application. Okay, so let's head over and have a look into the Argo CD definition. Argo CD, I'm using an application set, automatically generating all the applications from Argo CD. I annotate the application so a Cargo can find this. That's also very important. And then I say to him, hey, please use the umbrella chart and deploy the umbrella chart. Okay, that's all fine. So how does it look like in action? Application set is deployed. This is all our stages automatically created by Argo CD, pointing to the values. As you can see, stage prod London, stage prod NYC. And now let's have a look in Cargo. So this is the representation I created before. And now I can see what version is where. So I can click here on refresh to see if we have, if we have any new version. Please. If we have any new version. No, there is no new version. If I would create a new Helm chart, which I did now, it would create a 017, for example, and it would pop up that it's not deployed. Older stuff, freight is here, and newer one is on the left side. And now I can say, okay, we know that version 016 is deployed in test. So now I can say, okay, UAT, why I click always on this, and we see every other stage is having the version 10.5 on top of it. So now I can click on this one. I can do it manually, I can do it programmatically, and then I can select it and say, hey, are you sure you want to promote it? Yes, of course, I want to promote. And now it's running and hoping that the demo gods are fine with me. Okay, that went through. And let's have a look into our UAT. That should be, yeah, there are no changes, so it should be completely fine with the version. So if we have a look now, because I say do the changes in the main branch, I can refresh this now. Why is it not? Oh, you see now it's 19, that should be working fine. Oh, okay, my bad. I'm a little bit. So I have to say, please. Okay, So now we deploy the next one. Of course, he doesn't. Okay, so now we see 0.1.6 is deployed now also in the UAT stage. We should see a sync. Yeah, there should have been a sync. Yeah, it was just now. There are no changes. I did not change anything in the umbrella chart underneath. There is no change. It was just to show you a new version. But the most important part is now here. If I refresh this, we see that Cargo did a did a push on the main branch. You could also create a pull request if you want also to see this. And now let's have a look into the stage definition. And for UAT, we should see now that, yeah, it defined the dependency on 0.1.6. So it updated the dependency and everything worked as expected. And if we head back to Cargo, we see the same. If we had now, how do you say this, a change in the infrastructure, we would see this because there would have been an update. Do we have? 3 minutes left. Okay, 3 minutes left. That's very good. So, okay, so let's have a quick tour on DigitalOcean. Because you're like, hey, everybody can explain this to me, and then so. Okay, we see now the different stages. These are the applications I just deployed, and we see the Golang prod London. Everything got refreshed. That's fine. So have a quick look now into our where are we? UAT. So what comes with the test? So let's deploy. Now, prod New York. Okay, we would like to deploy now something on prod, the next version on prod New York. So let's take, so we would like to deploy now not a React application, but we would like to deploy it will take too much time. Okay, it will take too much time. Okay, yeah, you have to, trust me that this is nicely working. I don't want to blow up the last pages of the slides. Okay, so did I show everything? Yes. Let's head over to the slides. Okay. Conclusion. And I put this a little bit from the graphics because last time I got told that some people with green, red blindness, so that should be the color. So blue is, or the top ones are the positive parts. So as you can see, Cargo enforces a stricter separation of CI/CD. So we use CI only to build artifacts. And we come back here to this example because now I remember to show you this. So I have a GitOps action, which, where is it? Here, which just creates a new Helm artifact. So in this case, it just creates the chart. You can see I ran this yesterday. It created a new chart definition. So we follow now this one. So we're not using a CI part to deploy now with Helm or whatever CLIs, the new chart. It just built the part, and the CD part takes care of everything else. So that's really cool. Cargo is very GitOps native. Promotions are very well done. I really like this approach of clicking, of defining it and sending the freight to different stages. And then you can think about creating multiple warehouses and with multiple different values. Some of the drawbacks is there is no major release for now. So keep that in mind. If you want to try out, it could break and there could be some changes. The community is very active in where they are, what's Discord, they are in Discord. And I have to say, what I did not like very much is the documentation is not really the best. So I had to go through the CR definitions to see some of the details. Okay, so I completely blew the time. There are no questions. Yes?
Yeah, we don't, but very quickly.
I would have several.
Yes, please go.
Okay, so the truth is I don't see why you want GitOps for your promotions, because what I see as values of GitOps is that I can easily scale. I can edge setup. I don't have to adjust my CI, add a new server, set up Flux for Argo, boom, done.
Yeah.
here I don't have that. Another thing I love is continuous reconciliation and drift remediation. Again, I don't have that issue. So the only thing I see is that I basically have a declarative description of my delivery pipeline, and that's the only value basically that I see in the approach itself.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in this case, yeah, you just define everything declarative, you send it. So the deployment part is not now disconnected. There's no split in brain, or how you call this in English. So everything is in one place. So a team completely on the Kubernetes way can have everything on the Kubernetes way. So that's an interesting approach. I just had a talk with a person in a company. They want to use Kratix, for example, and also having the pipelines, the workflows via Kratix, everything, this thing. So, and they don't want to have any jump out to do any additional stuff in a classical pipeline approach and so on. So that's a perk here. So that's what they also say. It follows the GitOps principles to the end. Doesn't mean it gives you now a benefit, and that comes now senior talk, typical, it depends, but I like this here because now everything is in your Git repository. You don't need to jump into something else. There are also other tools. It doesn't say Kargo is now that tool. There are already Argo workflows, everything's, or Tekton. You can really go crazy in this approach. This is just one thing, and for me it has this nice paradigm of promoting. That's what I really, really liked. It gives you a nice insight, but also you can see via the GitOps approach, you even don't need the UI approach. So that's what I found is very interesting, because most of our customers, for example, they're coming from an enterprise background. So they run OpenShift, they run Argo CD, because not Argo CD is the best GitOps backend. It has this observability built in via the UI and all the stuff. So that's a thing. Sorry, you had another question? Okay, I don't want to steal anybody's time for the next talk. Follow up, I put everything inside. I don't know if we share the slides again with the participants or somehow through the CNCF page. Yes. Yeah. I will do this to Git. My repository is also there, so you can play a little bit around. And then I heard, because this is what my manager says to me, Engin, you have to always do a CTA. Then I had to Google what is CTA. It's called call to action. So my call to action for you is, yeah, give Kargo a try at home. Again, I'm not, it's an open source tool I appreciate, and not trying to sell anything. And then again, because I went through the pain, join the Pulumi QET and Crossplane Slack if you have any questions regarding the specific tools and so on. It helps a lot rather than spending too much time on it. And with this said, yeah, that's it. So thanks a lot.